Good afternoon and welcome to Consular Conversations Live. My name is Nikisha and I'm your host for today. We will be discussing J1 summer work and travel. And next month, we'll discuss how to submit your immigrant visa documentation. So if you're interested in this topic, please join us on Wednesday, April 17th at 1 p.m. local time. Today, I'm joined by my two colleagues, David, our non-immigrant visa chief, and Sean, our fraud prevention unit chief. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also want to welcome you, our audience. Thank you for tuning in. I want to encourage you all to share this live stream with your followers. We are on Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. Our handle is at US Embassy JA. Again, that is at US Embassy JA. As a reminder, we cannot answer specific questions about your individual case or application in this public forum. You are entitled to privacy regarding your specific situation. And we also don't have access to detailed case information during the program. So if you do need assistance, you can always visit our website at usembassy.gov.jm and use our Visa Navigator tool to direct your inquiry to the appropriate unit. As I mentioned, today we'll be discussing J1 summer work travel. For those who are not familiar with the program, it is an incredible opportunity for students to explore a new culture, gain work experience, and earn money to fund your education. Last year, Embassy Kingston issued more than 7,500 J1 visas to college and university students from Jamaica, and we anticipate issuing over 7,000 J1 visas this year. In order to participate in the program, you must be currently enrolled as a full-time student at an accredited post-secondary academic institution. You must be at least, or you must have completed at least your first year of study. And for final year students, you must have completed your academic program within 1 year, and you must have applied before you completed the program. Students can choose from a variety of opportunities across the US. However, the US Embassy cannot help you find a summer work travel program. You can visit j1visa.state.gov or travel.state.gov. Both of those websites will be featured on this live program. And so you can visit them for more information on eligible jobs. Also, great news for returning applicants. Starting this year, if you've participated in the J1 Summer Work Travel Program, you might qualify to renew your visa without an in-person interview. The scheduling website will prompt applicants who are qualified for the interview waiver to submit their required documentation and passport through our courier service. All other applicants must schedule an interview, and please do so at your earliest convenience. We do not expedite J1 summer work travel cases, but we do have significantly reduced wait times. So for a J1 summer work travel applicant, you may be seen within a week. And for B1, B2 applicants, appointments are available within 30 days. As a reminder, in general, for tourists and anyone applying for a visa who does require an interview, please plan your travel well in advance. Never book a non-refundable travel or ticket until you have your visa in hand. Now, I'd like to turn things over to my guests for today. Again, welcome, David and Sean. Can you please briefly introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm David Johnson. I'm the non-immigrant visa unit chief here. Been here since last summer, really enjoying life in Jamaica and enjoy the work that we do here. The J1 visa program is particularly exciting. J1 visas generally are for cultural exchange for students to go as on summer work travel, of course, but also as interns, trainees. A lot of teachers go on the J1 program. One of the common unifying factors of all J1s is that it requires a U.S. sponsor. And the process starts with you and your sponsor. And so going to the website that Nikisha mentioned, that j1visa.state.gov is the usual starting point for that. By the time you get to us and the visa process, you already have your necessary forms in hand. And we're just here to help facilitate the rest of that process to ensure that you're qualified for the visa class and make sure that you understand that your rights as a worker and also your responsibilities as a visa holder. We can get more into that later, but I'll let Sean introduce himself too.
Great. I'm Sean McKeating. I also arrived last summer. I'm the fraud prevention manager here at our embassy. It's my pleasure to lead a team of very experienced local staff who have a wealth of experience, not only in the documents that are needed, but fraud trends and everything else that I depend on every day. Our job in the fraud prevention unit in general is to provide assistance to our visa adjudicators when a case comes up that needs a little more investigation. A document might need to be verified, the bank account, balance check, things of that nature. That's our primary role. With regards to J1 summer work and travel, though, our job extends just a little bit beyond that, in that we are also trying to make sure that the system itself is working not only for the American employers, but more especially our Jamaican applicants. So if we need to look into a particular sponsor, if we need to look into a particular job opportunity, a place that might have a history of bad faith or bad dealings, where some of our Jamaican applicants have not had the best experience in the past, it's our job to make sure that that system works right as well. So that's sort of our role in this, and specifically with our summer work and travel applicants.
Thank you, David and Sean. Now, David, I shared some of the highlights of the program, but could you elaborate a bit more on eligibility requirements? What do students need in order to qualify for a summer work travel position?
Sure. As you noted, it's a requirement to be a full-time student. Even for people who are renewing a J1 summer work travel visa and sending those in without an interview, we still need to understand and see clearly that you're a full-time student. So while we do accept any application for J1 summer work travel that has, the passport photo and the S-2019 form, that's the common form for all J1s, it also is beneficial to you. It can save you from delays to send in documentation that shows your full-time student status. That can be a transcript. It's usually the best thing to send is a transcript or registration letter showing what you're enrolled in this semester, just to show the officer that at a single glance that you're a student, you intend to go there for the summer to work, to have this cultural exchange, and to come back the next year and complete your program, unless you're a final year student, of course. And so making sure that your case is documentarily complete, whether you're sending it in by mail through the courier, the document service center, or whether you're coming in for interview, just make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Make sure you're working with your local recruiter. Your sponsor should also be helping with this to prepare you for the interview, to make it as seamless a process as possible. Like I said, by the time you get to us, we're well versed in seeing thousands of these applications come through. We've seen thousands already this season, and we'll see thousands more for programs that are starting as early as the end of April, I think, and then running until the first week of September. The maximum length of the program is 4 months, but it's usually just the length of the long school break in between semesters. So most of those are obviously in the summer months. You're working at exciting places like amusement parks, pools, restaurants, hotels, any place that's giving you face-to-face experience, interaction with the American public. That's what this is about. It's about cultural exchange, about sharing your culture, about gleaning some American culture to bring back home, as well as some money for your education. So the requirements, like I was saying, be a full-time student, to have a residence abroad that you don't intend to abandon. Obviously, you're coming back to complete your studies, and so we need to assess that at the time of the interview. You may be asked other questions about family, friends in the U.S., prior travel on your B1, B2 visa, prior travel on a different visa class. The most important thing is to be honest in the interview. Just be forthcoming, talk about why you want to do this, answer questions directly. And we'll help get qualified applicants there. We're excited for this opportunity for you, and we're committed to facilitating timely interviews and timely travel for qualified applicants to get to these jobs.
Thank you, David. And one thing students often ask is, if they failed a course, does that disqualify them from participating in summer work travel?
No, failed courses happen obviously from time to time, even for good students and for people who will see their academic career through to the finish line. Presenting that honestly and authentically about what happened, and still maintaining the fact that you are a full-time student and that your intention is to complete the semester you're in, go to work, and come back for the next year. You can present that to the officer plainly, but you need to obviously present it honestly as well, but it's not disqualifying.
Thank you. Now, Sean, David mentioned that there are third parties who are involved in this process. There are different positions that students may be eligible or may perform well in the U.S. How can students avoid committing fraud as they're applying, submitting their documentation, or working with these different agencies, and how can they also avoid being defrauded during this process?
Sure. I think one of the easiest traps to fall into is we have some folks that have been summer work and travel participants a year or two already, and they now know the system well enough that they believe that they can help others, that they will, for a small fee, help you take care of your paperwork, make sure that your visa application is correct, and things of this nature. If an applicant comes to us, they will be evaluated on their qualifications and whether or not they fulfilled the requirements at the time. It is not within our remit to enforce Jamaican immigration law, but I do know that your best chance for success is to work through a recruiter that is already registered with the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. These entities are vetted by MLSS. They often have a long history with us, and it's just a more reliable way. It is not a requirement under our law, but it is the best way to make sure that you are not taken advantage of. Our watchword in the fraud prevention unit is, if a job opportunity seems too good to be true, it is. And so we have, not necessarily within the summer work and travel program, but lots of people who come to us with work-based applications, and they find out that they have been victimized. The market for how much does it cost to work with a local recruiter to be sent on a summer work and travel program is competitive, and you should check with several of the registered agents here to see who provides the best mix of price and service and reliability. We also, as I mentioned before, will receive information from time to time about a particular experience that was not at all as advertised. In addition to elements of MLSS and some of the recruiters that will make sure that your experience is going well, that you are not working in a difficult circumstance or given substandard housing and things of that nature, every summer work and travel applicant will get something called the Wilberforce pamphlet, which is vital because over and above what any of those other entities might have as far as protection for you, the United States government is extremely concerned with anyone going to the US and being exploited, having their documents retained, getting paid less than the amount that they were supposed to get under their contract, anything along those lines. Keep that pamphlet with you. Use the phone number and the email address to report anything that goes wrong. I personally know of several people in the various posts where I have worked where that Wilberforce pamphlet has saved their lives. So keep it with you. It's important.
And using those resources is not going to reflect negatively on you in a future visa application too. You have rights as a worker, and we want to protect qualified travelers. We want to make sure that your sponsor is complying with their responsibilities too, to make sure that you're in a qualifying job for summer work travel. There are certain industries that summer work travel applicants can't and shouldn't work in. And so it's the sponsor's responsibility to make sure that you're not in one of those jobs. You're not working night shifts. You're not working in a job where you never interact with people, or you're just in a warehouse and never seeing the public, for example. So use those resources. If you're concerned, call those numbers, and it won't impact you negatively for a future visa application.
Thank you. And we're almost at the halfway point. So before we open this discussion to Q&A, I want to ask one more question. So David, how long can students stay in the U.S. after they've completed their summer job?
Sure. Well, a common trait of all J1 application, all J1 visa holders is that they can arrive up to 30 days before the start of their program, but they can't start working until their program starts, and they can stay 30 days beyond the end of their program. However, because the summer work travel program is specifically for bona fide full-time students, the expectation is that you're going to stay through the end of your classes, arrive timely for your job, and return in time for your fall courses as well. If failure to do that, or failure to return in time for your classes, may reflect poorly on your next application and may in fact impact poorly on any visa application if you're not using your visa properly. So you have 30 days, but in reality, you need to be back in time for your courses, and you need to stay through the end of your courses before you leave for work.
Thank you. So now we are opening the chat for questions. We have a question from Shaquille. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from YouTube, asking, what are the start and end dates for 2024 summer work travel when is the last day I can apply for a J1 summer work travel visa?
Well, I can talk about the program dates because that's been a matter of some interest around our shop. Based on the academic calendars that were put out by all of the major institutions heading into the end of spring semester 2024 and the beginning of fall, program dates were initially set for April the 20th through September the 1st. However, we have learned from further discussions with the institutions and other people that are involved that the proper date should have been September the 8th. So April 20th to September the 8th are the program dates. If you check the J1 website today, that information has not been updated, but it has been communicated to the sponsors, to the recruiters, and to MLSS. I think some of the programs have already been created with the September 1st end date, but if your particular program really requires you to be there past Labor Day, which is important for many US employers, just verify with your recruiter, verify with the visa sponsor that in fact September the 8th is the end date and you should be fine.
Thank you. Shauna K from Facebook wants to know how she can find a list of registered agencies that can sponsor her to do a J1 summer work travel.
Sure. MLSS, Ministry of Labor and Social Security, does maintain a list on their website. I believe there's something like 20 to 25 that are licensed for J1 specifically. Others are among that list that are licensed for the H2 program, and some are registered for both. But they maintain that list pretty updated, I think.
They do.
Thank you. So Omar from Instagram wants to know if he can switch jobs once he's in the United States.
I believe you can, but it's with the. I'm actually not sure on this.
So you would have to ask the agency that you're working with. So that new job would still have to be eligible or still have to qualify under the program, but it is permissible.
Yeah, thank you.
So now I have a question from Grace. Grace wants to know if, as a graduate, if she's graduating this year, and she only has 2 classes left, can she still participate in the program?
Yes, so you need to be a full-time student, right? We understand that, though, that in your final semester, many students who are on their way to graduation only need to take a certain number of courses to get there. We won't make you take an extra course just to qualify for the program, but we still need to verify that and trust that you are, a qualified full-time student. So there are exceptions to that, and it's a judgment call. There's not a bright line on what qualifies a full-time student. Except for someone in the middle of their career, and then we can sort of judge by credit hours and your course load. But in your final semester, it's a judgment call, and it's a matter of the officer's discretion in your presentation.
Thank you. Yannick on X would like to know if she can apply again for the J1 Summer Work Travel Program if she had to leave her program early last year. So she departed early from her job and wants to know if she can reapply this year.
Yeah, it wouldn't disqualify her from future application as long as she's still a full-time student and didn't misuse the visa in any way. Returning early from a program, especially if it's mutually acceptable to both the visa holder and the employer, would not be derogatory for future application.
But this does bring up a larger point, which is a couple of times we have mentioned unique and special situations, a failed class, something like this. As long as you are forthright and completely honest on your application and at your interview, you will give yourself the best chance for being approved. It is when an officer who is interviewing someone believes that something is being hidden that cases get referred to us, and then we find what was hidden, and in some cases it can be a very negative outcome when in fact, if the applicant had been honest at the start, really there was no bar at all and they could have gone on without difficulty. So please do be completely honest and forthright in your application and your interview.
Thank you.
Failure to qualify for a visa is a temporary one-time ineligibility, but misrepresenting something to a consular officer can lead to a permanent eligibility for any visa.
Thank you. Now, Kadeen from Facebook would like to know if she's pursuing an associate's degree, would she qualify for the J1 Summer Work Travel Program?
Yes, it needs to be a full-time student in pursuit of a degree.
Thank you. And now Eric from Facebook wants to know if he does a J1 summer work travel program, can he also do the J1 trainee program after he graduates from college?
Yes. Yes, there's nothing prohibiting that. There are certain residency requirements for some classes, for some J1 visas that require you to come back to your home country for a period of 2 years after you travel on that before you can qualify for certain other visas. Summer work travel doesn't have that requirement, but in any case, consecutive J programs are possible.
Thank you. LF from Facebook would like to know if he or she changes her major or his major, will that affect their eligibility for the program?
No.
And now Chrissy from Instagram would like to know what are the specific rights and protections that Jamaicans have as workers in the U.S.?
Well, not just Jamaicans, but all people. Sometimes people will bring a domestic servant from overseas to the United States. People will go to the United States on one of our temporary worker visas, or this program that we're talking about today, the J1, any of the J sort of exchange visas. All of them have the same rights under U.S. law, and that is to be safe in their environment, to not have their documents retained, to be paid the wages under the contract as they were specified, and that they would have access to making complaints without any kind of prejudice against them. It is difficult when, as the fraud prevention manager, I read stories and the histories I know personally of how workers are mistreated when they're in the United States from whatever country, including Jamaica. And so you can certainly take a look at travel.state.gov and take a look at the specific protections and requirements on employers there. And when you go through the application process, of course, you will be getting that pamphlet that explains all those rights and who to contact in the case of any questions.
Thank you. Now, KCF from Instagram would like to know what are the main reasons someone would be refused a J1 visa?
So the most common reason that an interview waiver case gets sent back and called in for interview is when someone doesn't present their qualifications as a full-time student. I think that's probably the most common reason that someone's refused at interview too, is their failure to maintain student status, or that's number one. Others may be strong family ties, or a doubt that someone's going to return to Jamaica. Again, this is about being a bona fide student too. Like if someone's a bona fide student, regardless of how strong their family ties are in the U.S., a consular officer can certainly be satisfied that they're going to return and complete their program at university, because that's a strong tie. You put in time already. You've studied several semesters. You want to get to the end, and so we're happy to see that and happy to facilitate that travel. But in some cases, if a consular officer is not satisfied that someone's going to leave the U.S. at the end of their program, or has some other intention besides just working at the job that's indicated on their DS 2019 sponsor form, then that can be a reason for refusal as well.
Thank you. And you have a related question. So Anne wants to know if she has a pending immigrant visa petition, would she be eligible for the program?
Yes, as long, like I say, a consular officer just needs to be satisfied of your present intent to go to the U.S. for this program and return at the end of it. We understand that immigrant visa petitions can take a long time. They can take years. You may have the intent to immigrate someday on that petition, and that's okay. Present that honestly. You can, if someone's filed for a family member, you can talk about that openly, because you're still a student and you're still presenting your full-time student qualifications and your current intent to go to the U.S. and work in this job for the summer and come back at the end of it. Thank
you. And now Antoine from Instagram would like to know what he needs to bring to his appointment, to his interview appointment.
Yep. You need your passport, of course. Bring your DS-160 confirmation page. That's the page that you print out after you've submitted the online application. It has a barcode on it and a number that starts with AA. You bring that along with your passport size photos, current photos taken within the last 6 months, and your DS 2019 form, as well as for summer work travel, you need to bring something showing your full-time student status. You can, of course, talk to us about that. And if you've worked several summers in the past and forgot that document, yes, there's an off chance that you may qualify even without that. But just to make sure that you are ready, to make sure that the interview goes quickly and you don't get called back in to send more documents, bring that with you. Bring your transcript, bring a registration letter, anything showing that you're a student, you're studying now, and you're going to come back next fall.
Thank you. And we have one more question from YouTube, and it comes from Nishana. And she would like to know whether, if doing a J1 summer work travel program would affect her eligibility to renew her B1, B2 visa.
No, one thing doesn't really have much to do with the other, but showing that you've used one visa well usually is a strong indicator that you'll use another visa well. So B1, B2 visas for a specific purpose, so tourism, business, things like that. You'd use that for when you're going somewhere to shop or visit family. You use your J1 when you're going for a cultural exchange for a program like summer work travel. So no, it's you can have both visas at the same time. You can have a B1, B2 visa and apply for a J1 and vice versa.
I would add that if you want to avoid delays at Miami, let's say, for example, make sure that if you are in fact coming to work on your summer work travel program, don't present the tourist visa to the officer at the port of entry, because they will start with, well, no, that's not permitted. And then there will be a little kerfuffle and you'll have to page around and maybe it's in another passport and all that kind of stuff. If you're coming in to visit Disney, show the B1, B2. If you're coming in to do that job, that cultural exchange, show the J1. It just makes things easier and keeps the people behind you in line a little happier.
Yeah. Your DS 2019 form is also your key to the kingdom for summer work travel. You need it for your interview. You need it at the port of entry. It is the form that shows that you've been sponsored by someone in the U.S., that you understand the terms of the visa. We're still on? All right. That you understand the terms of the visa, and that's what you're there for. So you'll need that at Customs and Border Protection as well. So you show your passport, show your J1 visa, and show your DS 2019 form.
Thank you. And our last question comes from O'Shane. O'Shane would like to know if he should file an extension for his J1 summer work travel visa if he needs to go beyond, or if his job requires him to work beyond September 8th, or will he need to submit a new DS 2019 form?
No, you're not going to extend your summer work travel visa. The program ends when it ends.
Thank you. Thank you both. And thank you to our audience for tuning in today. As a reminder, we will be live again next month, April 17th, discussing how to submit your IV documentation. Please continue to follow us on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter, on YouTube and Facebook. Again, our handle is @US Embassy JA. Thank you again for joining us. Have a lovely afternoon.